What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be going back and having a look at the DC Direct Batman Knightfall Catwoman figure. Now, some rather sad news to go along with this figure, but we won't talk about sad news just yet. Let's talk measurements. Catwoman stands at 7 inches tall. Now, that's 7 inches tall from the top of the stand to the tips of her ears. That gives us 7 inches. I currently have her on her display stand because unfortunately over the course of time of storing this away in bags, which is normally where I keep a lot of my figures when I'm not displaying them, I keep them in totes. Got these little tweezers here. Why do you have those? We're going to take the pliers because one of the problems with some of these stands is that the peg does get wedged into the peg hole of the feet. So I'm just going to use these little pliers to take them out. Always keep those handy because they come really necessary at times, especially if you have like a 6-scale figure, like a Hot Toys, for example. You sometimes may use these to. I've used these when you take the hands out. The pegs sometimes go with it, so I use these pliers just to remove the peg. But that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about Catwoman here. Yeah, okay, so I have had her bagged away for the longest time. By the way, there's the display stand that would have come included with the figure and all the other 3 figures from the Knightfall line with the peg that wants to just keep coming out. But I had this figure stored away, and I just want to show you the one leg here. I just hinge the leg here. It may be hard to make out how everything kind of comes together, but this is a soft rubber. Like a soft rubbery plastic. It is looped, if I can describe it with a loop, and basically it loops itself around the peg that goes straight through and connects the knee to the thigh, or connects the lower leg to the thigh. This particular one right here, just by having it in a bag, I guess it got jostled around. The little loop of soft rubber ripped, and it came off, and the peg was still there running across, but the loop broke off. So basically I had a leg here, and I had the thigh with still the peg attached. So since then I've unfortunately had to glue this leg. I can't now bend this leg. It's completely, it is completely non-movable. That's the sad news. Let's move on with the review. I could have easily just gone and picked up another Catwoman, but I don't know if you've seen the prices on this particular Catwoman are extremely high. I challenge you to maybe go onto eBay after this review and just check out the market for how much this figure will go for. So yes, I could have just easily bought another figure, but I mean, for the fix that it is, I just opted to glue it instead, because really displaying the figure, I'm not going to display her with bent legs necessarily, because you can't really hinge the ankle or anything like that. The legs get so loose as they are that I think gluing just the knee is perfectly fine. Let's talk Catwoman. This is one of my favorite Catwoman figures, that is. And all the more reason why I wanted to go back and re-review this particular piece. Of all the Knightfall figures as well, this is my personal favorite. As we have here, 90s Catwoman. 90s Catwoman, much like other 90s characters, have a rather large proportion of, of hair. Or hair is, if you look at all the characters, the females from the 90s, they have really large hair. That's what I was going to say. But the notable things about this particular Catwoman is the fact that she has long hair sticking out from the bottom of her cowl, which is not something that Catwomen nowadays have. I mean, most of the time now, your Catwoman is basically just the cowl. And as you've seen, she's got like the goggles on the top, which is a cool look. But I really do like the 90s look of Catwoman. The face here is done really nice. Let's have a look at that. The eyes are painted in pretty good. This one eye looks a little weird versus this eye here, but I can overlook that. A nice big smile on her face. The nice warm tone of her flesh color I also quite like. I would admit that maybe there's some excessive amounts of blue in this hair, deeming possibly unnecessary, by my own opinion at least. I would say it's maybe a little too much excess blue. but it gets the point across. It breaks up certainly the mundaneness of all black, because I mean, if you just took that out, it would just look like a plate of black spaghetti. What I do really also like about this particular figure is the making use of shiny black. Now, she's got shiny black gloves, shiny black leg boots, if you want to call them like thigh-high boots. And it really just pops. Equally so is the spaghetti hair. Also has that nice sheen to it. Really pops on this particular figure. It's also a nice contrast to the very matte color of the purple, which makes up the, well, I guess the non-gloved and non-booted areas of her costume. Yes, proportion we will kind of tread lightly on. The proportions are a little exaggerated, but that's the way 90s characters were. Very thin waist, very broad thighs, and very broad, well, you know. She does come with an accessory above and beyond simply just the display stand. She also came with a whip, which luckily has still survived. If I can actually get her to stand. See, this figure has a difficult time standing. I'll just lay her down. She does come with a roped whip, which has some nice texture work to it. And it breaks off into, I would not say a cat of 9 tails, but this would be a whip of 6 tails. And then on the other side, she's got a loop and a smooth handle. She can only really hold it in the one hand, as the other hand is more so for clawing and cleaning the litter box and stuff like that. We can go ahead and fit that into her hand as it was originally intended and as originally it was displayed. Unfortunately, you kind of have to bend her fingers because her fingers are really soft. This one's not so much, but this one here has really soft fingers and thumbs. Displaying her with the whip is the ideal choice. Again, like the wrist or the hand closure is fairly wide, so she doesn't actually hold the whip too well as much as she just kind of, it just kind of sits in her hand. There's no real firm grip to it, unless you were to kind of heat the hand and kind of meld the fingers around the handle. Then you could possibly accomplish a more fitted grasp. But there is the Catwoman. Again, a great looking figure. One of my all-time favorite figures of all time. I said all time already. Just to show you how she stacks up. Here she is next to, I'm going to have to hold him because he kind of gets a little awkward to stand. There she is next to the Azrael Batman, who was also from the Knightfall line. And reaching off to a much larger figure, there she is next to Bane, which Bane actually stands fairly well. You can see a much bigger figure. Same price point though. These two figures would have been the exact same price point. So again, like, you get mileage for spending, you know, this would have been $14, probably $14, $15, $14, $15 now. Surprisingly enough, she is the more expensive figure now than Bane. I think Bane is actually one of the more affordable figures from the Knightfall line. Let's run through her posability. Limited is the word I would use to describe this figure. Well, head-wise is limited. As you could probably expect, because she has such a beautiful looking sculpt on the curly hair, it also limits any sort of posability on the head. You could try to fight the head, but as you can see, as you're fighting it, you're really not going to get much. Turning it this way is only going to really add stress more so to the joint of the neck. And really, the way the head's sculpted, the hair, it's sculpted to curve over the shoulder, that to rotate it this way, it's not helping anybody. Nobody at all. Shoulders hinge outward. You have a rotation all the way around on the arms. A hinge on the elbow. I'm being very careful because I should have actually did a before and an after where you saw what it looked like before down here and what it looked, obviously you can see what it looked like after. But it's a very, I mean, imagining a very soft rubber, like a very soft pliable plastic as a loop. And that just basically loops around the peg. That rips, that's very easy just to have the leg come right off, which is simply what it did. The legs don't hinge outward, but there's a forward and back motion on the leg, and there would be a hinge on the knee. This knee here, this knee, not so much. Limited, yes, posability. Beautiful looking sculpt though. One of my favorite Catwoman figures of all time. She would, in fact, probably make my top 10 favorite figures that I have in my collection. I want to do a review of her earlier, and I just never got around to it. I'm glad I actually did get a chance to re-review her now. She certainly pops amongst this blue backdrop. Again, a great looking figure, a little bit more expensive, so unfortunately if you are looking to pick her up now and add her to your collection, she is going to be a little bit more expensive to do so. I think there is actually a plan. I think I've seen images of a DC collectibles version of of Catwoman. Hopefully I haven't said Catwoman too often, or Wonder Woman too often. But there is going to be a re-release, not re-release of this figure, but I think we are planning on a purple 90s costumed Catwoman. That will be pretty cool. I would be excited to see that. One of my all-time favorite also designs of Catwoman. I mean, she does seem to have a little bit of a dated look to her, but I do really like the color scheme of the purple with the black, and I kind of really like the fact that the hair sticks out like the way it does. There you guys, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the DC Direct Batman Knightfall Catwoman. A little worse for wear, unfortunately, because of the knee, but still a beautiful figure nonetheless. If you guys haven't a chance to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button down below. Don't wait for a knee to pop off of a figure for you to do so. Hit that little subscribe button down below. And if you're a fan of DC Direct figures, there's a whole playlist there, right there for the plucking. If you could pluck a video. You could pluck feathers. I don't know if you can really pluck a video, but it's definitely there for your viewing pleasure. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.